Cast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A game. A made no rain from the track when we unite.
Hey now, it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD by Godaliva. How you doing, JD?
Dude, it's been a week, man. Let me tell you something. I put it out on Twitter and Facebook last night that I was going through some stuff yesterday. I'm thinking that I just over my dad dying. It's just not that simple. And sometimes it just kind of creeps up on you. And the worst part is like when it does creep up on me, I project and I think about something else completely that doesn't matter. But like for me, when I think about something that doesn't matter, it's something that one is not good, two makes me angry. So like I'm all angry last night and I'm trying all pissed off. And I'm trying to figure out what the heck, why am I so mad it doesn't work? And then I was looking at pictures of my phone and I found pictures of my dad. And when I don't want to think about when I don't want to, my brain, I'm not just doing this, right? It doesn't want to grieve. So it just goes right into anger, because anger, as you listen to this show, you might know that anger is an emotion that I process very easily. So it channels right to that. And I realized it last night. And I talked to some friends, and I talked to my wife, and I just, I was okay. And I had a really good talk with a friend today, like just really positive, really strong. And like done, like we're only 2 minutes in the show, but I don't care. I fucking beat that last night, man. I feel like I want to fight. Like, I feel like my own mind is trying to hold me back, and like I'm working to process it and I'm working to do it, and I'm not letting it define me. I'm fighting through and I'm getting better. And you know what? I miss the fuck out of my dad. I really do. That's okay. And I'm good with saying it. It ain't going to end. There's going to be good days. There's going to be bad days. And I know that when my brain slides back into this negative space, exactly what's going on. And I have to reapply that to my head. And man, I feel like I could take on the freaking world tonight, man. I really do. I cannot wait to talk about Vince fucking McMahon. Let's do this.
Yes. Yeah. We're gonna do this. And I feel like taking on the world because for a different reason.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to talk about that in due time.
Yeah. Next week, I have a really cool story to share with everybody next week. Cannot talk about it today, but this week I have something that's, for me, it's equally as cool. So I was born and raised in a town called Exeter, California. And I was, probably like 12, 13 years old. I'm flipping through the channels one day. I'm a hardcore wrestling fan. Like I'm buying all the magazines, all the tapes, all that stuff. And I'm just flipping through the cable channels that my dad hooked up illegally. I'm flipping through the cable channels, and we had a channel on our cable called the Cable Radio Network. And it was just it was like a talk radio station. I think they played some music, they did some stuff, and like they would just have advertisements, kind of like a billboard ads coming up across the screen. And I'm just flipping through one night, and I hear this guy talking about ECW, and I was like, what's this guy talking about ECW? It's like, I thought I was the only guy around here that knew about ECW, right? Because I had the magazines and the tapes. And he was talking about the Dudley Boys. He's talking about Public Enemy, Raven, all this stuff. I was like, wow. So I started listening to him, and he starts talking about the inside of the business. And I had not heard that stuff before. You got to keep in mind, like my mom and dad were not buying me the Wrestling Observer, and we didn't really, like, the internet was around, but we were really poor. So we didn't have like access to it. Right? Like we didn't have internet in 1996. That didn't come until later for me. So I'm listening. His name is the Shadoweman. He had cool catchphrases. You could call into the show. I used to call in all the time, probably annoyingly so. I was calling in every week, and I would hear him introduce the callers. He would have wrestlers come on. I got a chance when I'm like a little kid to talk to Yokozuna and Shane Douglas and Bam Bam Bigelow and all these other cats. When I moved away to Missouri, they didn't have the Shadoweman show. And so, all these years later, I tracked him down. He is making a comeback right now on the Shadow Nose Network. The three biggest influences on me and my podcasting career are Howard Stern, Brian Alvarez, and the Shadow Man. So I'd like to welcome everybody, introduce to our audience, the Shadow Man. What's up, Shadow?
Hey,
How you doing, sir?
hey, what's happening? What's happening? It's good to be with you, brother.
Man, so it's been a lot. It's so good to hear your voice because I listen to you religiously on Friday nights. While other cats were out getting late after football games, I was like playing football, and I'd come home and I'd listen to the Shadoweman on Friday nights, and then we'd get to school on Monday morning, and me and my buddy like Matt, my cousin Randy, or my friend Dusty, we always kind of on the playground talking about what the Shadoweman was talking about in pro wrestling. So I know you got a pretty unique career, and you were actually a pro wrestler for a little bit. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about your background, man. How did you get involved in the wrestling business?
Yeah. First, let me just say this. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you guys having me on. To share some time with you and stuff. That's cool. I appreciate that. My condolences to you, JD, brother.
Thank you.
All I can tell you is keep your head up. I lost my father about 2 years ago, man, and it's been and that anniversary just came up is this week. So yeah, bro, there's never a day or a time where you just like are good. You're just remember, you have those moments. And my suggestion to you is that when you're having a moment, you think about a time with him, and then that good moment that you had with him. And I would say that's what you do to get through this process and stuff. I talk to my siblings and everything else like that, but I'm not gonna go on. But I would just say, bro, multiple levels. Like, oh, I gotta call. I've been in moments where I was like, I gotta call my dad and talk to him about this, and it's like, fuck, I can't, But those are the moments. I light a candle. I think about them. I'll call my sister, or my brothers, or whatever and stuff, and then we'll have a conversation and stuff. So, you got that support group around you. Keep it tight, bro, and just think of those good moments and stuff. That's how you get through it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah, for sure. And I'll just say, guys, it's my life, my career, whatever it has been a roller coaster, and we just kind of got back on it, just to see where it goes from here. A professional wrestler grew up. I was born in New York, grew up in Texas, and I used to watch the Guerrero families, so Mid-South Wrestling. Big fan of. They had like a huge feud with the Guerreros and the Von Erichs. Oh, no, and the Funks, not the Funks. It was the Guerreros versus the Freebirds, and it was such a big feud, man. And they brought in Gory Guerrero, it was Chavo, it was Hector, it was Mondo, and I was just like a huge fan of wrestling. I used to grow up. My aunt used to take me to MSG, Madison Square Garden, when WWF was at MSG every week. You could go, So that's what I grew up in and stuff. And when I came out here to California, I was at some kind of wrestling convention or something like that. And there he was, Mondo Guerrero. I was like, oh my God, Mondo Guerrero, sir. Oh my God, I'm a big fan, blah, blah, blah. How I would really love to become a professional wrestler. He's like, that's great, kid. And he just walked by. And literally, I was like, my heart was broken. And I was just like walking out the place. And I was just like, my head was down and stuff. And then Mondo caught up to me. He said, hey, kid, you want to be a wrestler? Meet me at this address on Saturday. And he gave me an address. It was in East LA. It was an old garage, like a small old garage he had his ring in. And it was me and two other guys, Larry Piccone, and I think the other guy's name was Dave and stuff. They were the powerhouses, whatever it was and stuff. Two big giant steroid dudes and stuff. So it was just me, So anyway, I learned how to be a wrestler from Mondo. I started doing indie shows, and then I connected with Jesse and Bill Anderson and Jesse Hernandez at School of Hard Knocks, and started working with them and working shows and stuff with them, and went on a roller coaster ride, man. I did some fun stuff. We did a lot of stuff in Vegas. Buffalo Jim, when I was radio, Buffalo Jim, man. I get emotional when I just think about him because of what happened to him. But Buffalo Jim was like a staple in Las Vegas, had some very cool moments we shut down Circus at a WCW event. We had Louis Piccoli. We had like a couple of guys there, man, and we just did some cool things in Vegas. I'll never forget. And we did some cool shows too and stuff. TC Martin had shows. Man, it was I could go on and stuff, but like that's basically, you know, I did the wrestling for a while, and then I just kind of local radio in Los Angeles was KIEV. I came on after a legendary radio host named George Putnam, and then Mike Horn heard my show, and he was like, "Hey, you know what? You want to fill in for the show?" And I filled in for Dynamite D, and then he gave me an hour, and then he gave me the show, and then I just kind of took off from there and been doing Squared Circle, bro. And I'm excited to just be here and stuff, and I rant, and you can stop me at times and stuff because not just you, Mike, but like there's been many people out there that's like, "Hey, Shadow, where are you? When are you coming back?" and stuff. I get emails, people find me on Facebook, and they're just like, "Yo, when are you coming back?" So when Mr. Storm hit me up, man, and he told me, you know, about this, I was like, "Yo, I'm cool. I'm with it and stuff." The death of WCW? Yeah. I know a little bit about that, bro. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Because you were on the air every week, and now I'm trying to explain to the audience. I don't think I can convey just how big this show was because you were syndicated nationally, and
Wow.
so before there was a Busted Open, before there was a Wrestling Observer Live, there was Squared Circle, and there were some other shows I think but they were more local. You had like Mike Tenay, I think, had a show in Vegas, and John Arezzi had his show on the East Coast, but nationally was Squared Circle, the talk of professional wrestling with the Shadoweman. So this is a big show, and you're having, you know, all these guests from all the promotions, and we're like right in the heat of the Monday Night War during this time. So what was it like just kind of covering that era of professional wrestling?
Well, I will say this, yeah, like we were like the first, like I give credit where credit is due. God rest his soul. Dynamite D, he was the first doing it, but he had his own style of doing things. To me, as a professional wrestler, I think Dynamite D became a wrestler afterwards, not before. So he's more of a fan doing the show. So I just brought the perspective of like, I know wrestling. I am a wrestler. I still wrestled at the time. So bringing that perspective to the table was what made the show unique and different. And during that time, as you mentioned, Howard Stern, we were on cable. So we were getting Nielsen ratings, and we were right there with Howard Stern when it came to ratings. So Howard Stern was like one of the number one shows on E Network at the time. We were only a few points under him. So competition wise, that's where you could say my ratings was as far as like the show's popularity. But during that time, wrestling started its boom because when NWA got bought out by Turner, and then Turner turned it to WCW, and it started to pick up and get momentum because they weren't really competition with WWF. And that was the drive in the build. And the cool thing about it is that we had already plugged in with WCW, and they were doing promotions, giveaways, and stuff like that with us. So we were able to have access to all, you know, a lot of wrestlers and great interviews and stuff. And of course, my relationship with some of the wrestlers like RVD, who's I don't want to cuss, but he's a fucking great guy. He is the whole effing show. RVD played a really big part on us jumping into the WCW stuff and getting an inside with WCW, ECW.
Mhm.
And that, you know, we got like great interviews and everything else like that. RVD came on the show, and then he was like, "Hey guys, y'all need to come on the show with Shadow." And then boom, it was done. Louis Piccoli, same thing. I wrestled with him. I worked at School of Hard Knocks. Louis Piccoli made it to WCW. You know, Louis was there. You know, you've heard Louis multiple times.
Yeah.
He used to host when I couldn't do the show. He would come on and guest host and stuff for me and stuff. So Louis brought a lot of the WCW guys along as well and stuff. So we had some cool stuff, man. We had some cool moments. We had a couple of WWE, WWF or whatever at the time. We had some of their people come on as well and stuff. I think where did we get the Benoit? We have a Benoit interview I've been looking for years. The webmaster, he has it somewhere, but One of these days we'll find it and we'll repost it and stuff. A lot of cool interviews and stuff. But yeah, no, that time was an exciting time because wrestling had two fronts, you know, WWF and WCW and stuff. And that competition is always good. That's what builds the business in the industry and stuff. And that's why the industry is like on fire right now. Yeah.
Did you have any reservations when you took over the show to kind of reveal a lot of the secrets of the inside of the business? Because that was my introduction to the inside. Like I learned like wrestling talk. I learned the word kayfabe and shoot and all that. I learned all that from your show. So when wrestlers get mad at me today, I was like, you got to blame the Shadoweman. He taught me when I was a kid. You know? Did you have any reservations kind of being one of the boys and then coming onto the air and talking about that stuff?
I'll put it to you this way. I had asked Mondo Guerrero to come on for years. This is my mentor. And he wouldn't do the show. He's like, I don't know, Shadow, I'll think about it. But where Jesse Hernandez, he kind of embraced the show and he came on and stuff. But it was the way I did the show. I was very respectful to the business. I didn't give up all the secrets and everything and stuff. But I was honest with the fans and stuff. Because at that point, you know, it's like, everybody had an idea, but no one knew how. You know, you didn't know the understanding of things and stuff. When you look at sports in general, all around, there's a very simple system that I can say now, you know, versus back then, is that everything goes through the referees. Everything. I had a big heated debate with my neighbor about the NBA. I'm like, New York should have won that game. They didn't. But it's the referees. So saying that just to say is that the reveal that I gave was something that was acceptable versus something with me. If I was telling you how the referees and how the matches were called and how everything was happening back then, oh no, man, I would have been blacklisted, bro. But the best way to describe what I did at that time was there's a movie called Beyond the Mat. You guys heard of it? Saw it? Beyond the Mat? Okay, so Barry Blaustein came down to the station and with his camcorder came down. I think it was Jesse or somebody introduced and said, hey man, he wants to come down and check out the show. He came and checked it out. And at that point and at that time, I was a little bit more on the side of kayfabe. So I got more into character than I got into just being myself. So I actually would have played a part in that movie and he would have done some more reveal on the radio side and how the fans interact on a more personal level. But he passed on it. So there was a fine line of like what I gave and what I exposed, what I shared. And I kind of just stayed right there, you know, right under, instead of just like totally exposing everything and stuff. No, you know, when people saw that movie, they kind of saw everything and stuff. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, a moment in history, a moment in time where, you know, I look back and I say, well, you know what, I could have gave a little bit more and I probably would have been a part of it. I was in a behind the scenes kind of thing on a lot of great things happen in wrestling, and some of it I was involved in, but no one ever knew. So, yeah.
The main topic we wanted to talk to you about, and I'm so fascinated by your story and I'm really excited to hear it, was the death of WCW and what spurred it on. And the reason why I'm even thinking to bring it up is because that's the wrong one. Just yesterday, that was a story. That's a story for later. So just 2 days ago, it was announced that The Rock is coming out with a docuseries made by the guys who do Dark Side of the Ring, and it's going to be called Who Killed WCW. And I quote tweeted the story, and I said, Eric Bischoff killed WCW. There, I solved it. And a lot of people took offense to that. Eric Bischoff has a troll army, and they were coming after me a little bit. Yeah. And so a lot of people agreed. And then other people were like, you know, insulting me, calling me names, which is fine. I'm 41. I can handle that. And then there were some people like trying to have like an honest discussion, an honest debate. They were like, well, look, Bischoff played a part in it, but you know, Vince Russo did no favors. And then of course, Jamie Kellner is the one that ultimately killed it. I'm going to get Shadow's thoughts, but I'd like to, I want to get JD, I wanted to go ahead and get you first really quick. In your opinion, who killed WCW?
I don't think there's one person you could put the blame on. I think there's a collection of people. Like, I love your tweet because I think at the end of the day, Eric Bischoff is the guy most responsible because he was the leader of the ship. Like, right? The captain goes down with the ship and he refused to go down with the ship. So, I mean, like, it's kind of like the Titanic. There's a lot of factors that went into that boat sinking, but at the end of the day, the captain goes down with the ship. So that's kind of my thought. I mean, like, what is that phrase? Success has one master. How's it? Success has one master. How does that go, Mike?
No, yeah. Success has a thousand fathers, but failure is an orphan, right?
Yeah,
so it's a lot of people pointing fingers and passing the buck. But Shadowman, you lived it. You were friends with a lot of the guys in WCW. You were covering it every week. What do you think? What ultimately led to the demise of WCW?
Like JD said, there's a lot of factors. And yeah, overall, you point on the finger when there's one person to point at, and that's the person in charge, and that's Eric Bischoff. I met Bischoff. I've interviewed Bischoff. He was a cool guy. I will say it is the key to it is the way he criticizes AEW now is the criticism that he got back then, and he did not listen. But one's failures can be rectified by one trying to help someone salvage what they have. Bischoff didn't listen on a lot of levels. He listened to a lot of the workers and a lot of the guys in the backstage. And I've been using this phrase a lot lately when describing AEW, which is the inmates are running the asylum. And I think that was the biggest problem. And it was not, who's the guy you said, the writer dude that ran WCW was writing?
Vince Russo.
But it wasn't Vince Russo. Vince Russo came in and he had some great ideas at one moment, but it wasn't him that did it. Vince Russo just became an idiot, and he was just running around throwing stuff against the wall and just trying to see what sticks, and then they were allowing him to do all this random dumb stuff. But at that point, it was like, it was too little too late, bro. But when it comes to like the initial point was, you look at Hogan, you look at Nash, you look at all those guys that were on top, the NWO, all that stuff. When it was huge, it was big, it was booming, it was great. One of the things that started it, that put the crack in it, was the Hogan Sting match. You build that match for an entire year. Sting does not wrestle, Sting does not talk, Sting does not do anything. And then, which I've heard many stories, and I've interviewed Hogan before. Hey Hogan, look, this is it. Sting's got to go over. Well, let me tell you something, brother. We're going to have to do it this way. Bro, you put this guy over clean. Roman Reigns just put over Cody Rhodes, bro. With all of the stuff that went along with it, which was great, was fantastic. A lot of shocks, surprises, and everything. Hogan's situation was the same. You had all these things and run-ins and everything else, whatever and stuff. But at the end of the day, bro, you put him over clean, and he didn't do it. That was the point where it was like, yo, the entire fan base invested an entire year into one of the biggest matches in wrestling history, and you did not put him over clean. That was the beginning of the end at that point. But the key to the rest of it is this. WWE at that time, they paced themselves. They knew that the ratings were dropping, but they paced themselves, and they did one thing. And since then, they have continued to do it till today. Build new stars. If you don't build new stars, your company is not going to last. WCW, ECW, TNA, all of the companies in the past can't stand up to WWE. Why? Because they built new stars. The NXT level is on a whole nother level, because what they're doing is they're establishing, they're building, they're growing the future. Now, when it came to WCW, I'll tell you a quick story if I can. Just a quick.
Oh,
yeah. You probably remember me promoting it like crazy. The World Wrestling Peace Festival.
Yes.
The World Wrestling Peace Festival we did in Los Angeles, and it was a situation to where I got a call from I forget, Sakaguchi. Sakaguchi was running the LA Sports Center in Los Angeles, and I think Jesse had called me to go talk to him. I said, okay, what's up? And then he was like, oh, we want to do something big, something great, something wrestling. I said, okay, cool, fantastic. What do you want to do? United. I said, okay, what do you need from me? So he wanted me to pitch to Antonio Inoki. So you had Inoki, senators, delegates, ambassadors, all coming to Los Angeles, and I had to pitch to them at the LAX. And I got all my papers and everything about WCW, Hulk Hogan. I said, things are booming. Wrestling is getting ready to take off. And I pitched it to him. Inoki said, I love it. I want to do it. So it was set. Of course, they brought in my guy, Bob Cortego, who kind of started to put together the match. But I basically pitched the World Wrestling Peace Festival and brought it together. Now, here was the idea, the concept of the reason why I'm telling the story. In that it was supposed to be WWE, AAA, and WCW all coming together, one united front on one big show. And of course, WWE kind of backed out at the end. But it was this. The names on the cards that were put on it were the future of wrestling. Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, what's his name? Eddie Guerrero. A lot of the AAA guys, a lot of these guys, and guess what this show was? It was an audition to WCW, because after the World Wrestling Peace Festival, all these guys came on board to WCW. Then guess what? Everybody was starting to see their dream matches. It was like, oh my God, this is awesome. WCW was on a rise. But the problem is Bischoff was one-minded. Cruiserweight title, that's as far as they go. Why? Because Kevin Nash told him that they're too short. And look, Kevin Nash goes on online and stuff, and he criticizes a lot of people and everything and stuff. And at some points, can I cuss?
Yeah.
At some point, you got to tell this dude, you know what? Sometimes you need to just shut the fuck up, because a lot of the stuff that Kevin Nash is saying now is the same thing like Bischoff. It's like, you guys are talking about stuff that now people can fix, and that's great and everything. But at the end of the day, it comes back to this. Nash, you were the asshole that almost ruined what basically he ruined Bret Hart's career. He almost ruined Rey Mysterio's career. This guy was like hurting a lot of people. And it was because his arrogance, his cockiness, he's 7 foot tall, whatever, and all that good stuff and stuff. He couldn't get beyond himself. So there was never a point in WCW where they said Benoit could be world champion. Jericho could be world champion. Eddie Guerrero could be world champion. Or Rey Mysterio could be world champion. But guess what? When they got bought out and they came to WWE, what happened? Benoit, world champion. Jericho, world champion. Mysterio, world champion. Eddie Guerrero, world champion. And those were one of the biggest moments in wrestling history. And that was one of the reasons why WWE came back on top. But it was because WCW never built new stars. And I'm talking about guys like, you see where Cody Rhodes is? That's a star. That's a superstar. I guess you call the title a superstar. And if you think about any other groups, what is the name? TNA, same thing happened to them. Jeff Jarrett got in the way. He couldn't get out of his way. Dixie Carter got too involved on television. And what happened to TNA? It went down. They're on YouTube now, wherever it is. The people keep telling me, watch it. I watched it, and guess what I see? It's like these guys are in this. It's not even good as NXT, honestly. Hey, look, no beef on Tommy Dreamer. He's doing a good job and everything. Is the booker for him and everything. But like, come on, man. They're not the third choice right now. They're like the kind of the third choice. They're not the second choice. So when it comes to WCW, at the end of the day, it just comes down to this. It's Bishop's fault because he didn't see the vision of, like, you gave us dream matches, but you didn't give us superstars. You made the guys that were superstars, making your stars look good in the ring, but you never elevated them to world champions. That was a problem. And the biggest beef you could even think about is like, you try to appease us when you gave Booker T the title. Too late. There's a lot of things that went wrong with WCW, man. My man DDP, good friend of mine. We did San Diego Comic-Con. We shut Comic-Con down. DDP can tell you a lot of things and stuff where it's like there was trials and error. DDP did one thing that I think a lot of things that Bischoff should have listened to a long time ago. All of these guys he wanted to work with. Why? Because he knew he was going to have a 5-star match. Why DDP at the age 40-something got into the ring and started wrestling and had 5-star matches? Because he was wrestling the Jerichos and the Benoits and all of those guys back then, man. They weren't just considered jobbers to him. They were like workers that were here. So, yeah, I could go on and on, man. But like, yeah, like I agree with you on just the fact that Bischoff ruined things. Hogan, he kicked it off. Nash, he tried to bury every guy that was not over 6 feet tall. You know, it was a lot of things. Scott Hall didn't care. He was cool, you know. And then look, Scott Hall, good. Larry Zbyszko. Scott Hall took on Louis Spicolli, and he wanted to build him. He was about to have his biggest match ever against Larry Zbyszko, and he passed away. It was like going to be a moment where, hey, Lou could kind of break that ceiling and get to that next level in WCW, but you know that didn't happen. But yeah, there's a lot of things, man. You can name a lot of moments where you know, like when they created. People say bring back the cruiserweight title. I say no, don't. You know, I think there are people that can break that ceiling that are under 6 feet tall, and then there's people that just can't. You know what I mean? Those are the mid-carders. And it is what it is. So yeah, some of my thoughts.
Man, Shadow was on fire there.
Yes, he was.
I can't wait to clip the part where he just says, "Kevin Nash, shut the fuck up."
Oh, that's like the best. I was like, I love this man. I get it now. I didn't hear him growing up, and I regret it. Like, this is great.
Yeah, well, he couldn't cuss back in the day because he was on like a public radio. FCC controlled that. So now we got the Shadow Unleashed. Hey, before we get into any other topic, let's go ahead and plug the Shadow Knows Network. I want to give a shout out. Your crew is actually. They are in the chat right now. I'm going to get to you guys. We got Tech Master and we got Alexander Storm who set this whole thing up, but we got the Shadow Knows Network. JD, you're going to like this because not only do they talk about pro wrestling, they talk about action figures, news, toys. They talk about comic books, all kinds of stuff. It's not just a pro wrestling network. They're getting all of Shadow's favorite topics all in one place. The Shadow Knows Network. He's got a whole crew over there. Tech Master does a great job. Alexander Storm does a great job. So what besides getting probably poked and prodded by Alexander Storm, what brought you back to the podcast game?
Well, first shout out to the Shadow Knows Network, Pixel, Plastic, and Ink. JD, it sounds like you might really enjoy that because the Pixel Plastic and Ink team, man, they talk about comic books, they talk about movies, they talk about TV, they talk about action figures, collectibles, and stuff. Even have some store and stuff. We got merchandise coming too. And then the Tech Master, he's the guy. The Tech Master was the webmaster, so he's now the Tech Master, and he covers wrestling every week and stuff. But so shout out to the Dr. Brentley, shout out to Chet Maddox, shout out to the Mr. Chris, and shout out to Alex Storm. And what got me back was, it was a lot of people, as I mentioned, I get emails and stuff like that on Facebook, and people hit me up, like, find me, and it's like, oh, Shadow, is that you? It's me and stuff. So I've been wanting, I had tried to come back, I think back in 2008, where I was like filming indie wrestling. I would go out, I would cover some indie wrestling stuff, and I would, do interviews and stuff like that. And I was going to build a channel, but it was a lot of work, and I was busy doing a lot of other things and stuff. And so I kind of took a step back from it. And then Mr. Storm was like, bro, we're going to start the Shadow Knows Network, start doing stuff with the toys and stuff, because I'm a big collector of action figures. So I started doing that and stuff. He's like, bro, let's we're not just toys, we're not just action figures, let's do some wrestling stuff. And the Tech Master has started, and then I started, I was like, okay, I'm gonna chime in. And then of course we were leading up to the WrestleMania, so we just kind of went crazy with the WrestleMania stuff with the Tech Master and the Iceman. So things just went real cool, man. And I got, they got me hyped and pumped up and stuff. And I was like, it's nothing like sitting in front of a computer, man, and do this and stuff. I don't have to drive all the way to Sunland and to do the radio show anymore. I can just do it from the luxuries of my house. All right, cool. That's easy. So we're doing it. We're doing it now and stuff. It's a slow build, it's a slow burn. And I think that, this is the start of something cool. I'm enjoying the fact of just sharing time with you guys and stuff. And I'm hoping that some of the other fans, will turn around and say, oh, shit, Shadow is fucking back. Oh, hell yeah. And then let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think we discovered one of you guys right now, Vance Keyshawn, been in the chat all night. pumping up the Shadoweman. He said, "I'm making him tear up. This dude is so iconic and misses his team days." That's
Oh
what's
man.
up right there. I love that. So everybody go to the look up Shadow Nose Network on YouTube, and I will have all. You know what I'll do? I'll make sure I have a link in the description. I don't think I did that. And go
Awesome.
make sure that you subscribe to their channel. Let them know that
Yeah.
Mike and JD sent you. And I would really appreciate, because the Shadow is on the comeback trail, and everybody should be excited about that. So
I can I just say this? I can I just say
yes,
this one
please.
thing?
Yeah.
During the time when we did the show, it was Howard Stern, and we were going head to head with Howard Stern, and our ratings were right there. 1.7. We were getting some really good ratings, and then at the time, there's a guy, not Victor Brick. Oh damn, who's that guy? The guy that says Rackham. Who's that dickhead?
The
He was
radio guy that says Rackham.
yeah,
So the only other guy
radio
that I can
guy.
remember that was it Mancow? Was it that guy Mancow? That's a Chicago guy,
No,
isn't it, JD?
It was
and
Chicago.
I can't remember his name, but he copied Run the Gauntlet. When we started running the gauntlet and we step up, and step off, when we were doing all that, this dude he copied it, and he started doing this thing where it's like, the fans would come on and they would do their little thing, and then he'd say, rock 'em.
Jim Rome.
Jim
Was
Rome.
it Jim Rome?
Jim
Yeah,
Rome.
because
That
yeah,
dude
remember
stole stuff from the show, man. And so, with saying that, I'm just saying it's like I look at Pat McAfee and I see what he's doing and see what he built. And then Mr. Storm was telling me, it's like, yo, look, let's start building this thing and let's see where it goes. Let's, if someone will, of course, a lot of people on here look at it and say, hey, maybe one day I can get on that level of Pat McAfee. Man, look at this guy. He's like killing it right now, So, hey, that should be you guys' goal. That should be everybody's goal, get to that level.
Yeah,
So
I would love Pat McAfee's money. That would be
me
awesome.
Yeah.
Man, this has been a ton of fun. I don't want to keep you forever. So I'm just gonna drop one more on you, and then I'll go ahead and let you go, and then JD and I are gonna cover a couple of other topics. So we talked about WCW, and a lot of people are comparing modern AEW to WCW. Now, there's been like episodes where I was like, that was WCW stuff. But, I would say in this last week, I feel like Tony Khan has been showing some Bischoff-like behavior, which is pretty odd, considering that him and Bischoff are kind of like butting heads all the time online, and they have like this online feud going on where Bischoff is, constantly insulting Tony Khan, while still not even admitting a lot of his own faults and not doing those things, not warning Tony Khan of the mistakes that Bischoff made along the way, and kind of steering him towards Eric Bischoff's, he had like a year and a half of success, and not really, steering Tony Khan that way. What are your thoughts about some of the parallels between Tony Khan and Eric Bischoff?
Well, I will say this, man. It's AEW is heading in the same direction as TNA, and the same direction as WCW. I think that they have a roster of really good talent, and I think that one of the things that kind of like bothers me in just the recent weeks of just listening to Bischoff and stuff, and I went on my rant as well about Tony Khan, is that it's great that he's given his opinion and his advice on like things that they could do to fix it. And it's not like he's just like crapping all on him and then just letting it go, but he's actually giving him like some really solid ideas. I think this last couple of days ago, him and Billy Ray, they were talking about things that they could do and stuff. And Billy Ray had like really great ideas. But the state of where AEW is and their ratings dropping, and like the audience is dwindling down, bro. Like the upper section, they pull them all down to come and fill in the seats and then they black out the upper sections. So it's like, it's not, they don't have sellout shows ever anymore. Honestly, my girl's nephew, he's a chef at the Forum, and so he got me tickets to AEW, and I got into AEW and stuff, and it's cool. It's cool to be there live. They had a great show and all that other kind of stuff, pyro and all that kind of stuff. The biggest problem with AEW is that they're falling into the same rut as WCW did, and that is they're not building new stars. They're going for the ratings pop, and that was one of Bischoff's biggest problems. And whether he admits it or not, it was, oh, who's coming? Who's showing up this week? Oh, wait, it's Alondra Blaze. Oh, look what she did. She took the women's championship, dropped it in the trash, and set it on fire. Oh, wow. Okay, let me turn back to Raw. That doesn't work. And what AEW is doing is the same formula. Let's show this video of CM Punk and what's the name and Jack Perry, and let's get a ratings bump. Well, they upped to like 100,000 viewers, but did that sustain it? No. They got the same ratings the following week. And then guess what? This past week, man, they had 700,000 viewers this past week on the first hour. Second hour dropped down to 400,000 viewers. So what does that say? There's a problem. One problem is you don't listen to the fans. Listen to the fans. Give the fans what they want. When you do that, it will grow. Your casual fans are how you gauge your audience, but your casual fans are not the ones that you're trying to really draw in. You're trying to draw in, well, should I say the hardcore fans are the ones you listen to. Your casual fans you want to draw into. And their problem is that just like TNA, when TNA was starting to go down and they lost their TV, they didn't get their TV contract renewed. They lost it. They've already lost DAZN for their pay-per-view or carriage or whatever and stuff. So that's done. So they're really about to really drop, bro. And I don't know when their TV contract expires, but it's coming to an end unless they fix something now. You go to TNT, you go to TBS, and you say, listen, give me 3 months and we're going to turn this around. And then you come up with a plan, a 3-month plan, I say. AEW needs a 3-month plan. Otherwise, they will be done before this year is out. And I guarantee you that that is going to fall just like WCW did, just like TNA did. There's things that they can do to adjust things and make it great. It's great that Swerve Strickland is a champion. What's the work thing that's going on right now is the elite. The elite. Horrible, terrible. What are those guys called? What you call it? The elite. The VIP, the VPs, the Young Bucks. Terrible, horrible. Why? Well, there's nothing to be gained from these guys becoming the top heels of the company unless there's a mission statement. Now there is a way to fix it because I'm gonna try to do it quick. The way to fix it is you bring in Jinder Mahal. You bring in those other 2 guys that got released and some of the other guys from WWE that just got released. Jinder Mahal is from Southeast Asia, right? So Tony Khan brings him in because of these guys. And then they come to take over AEW. And it is a build towards Jinder versus Swerve Strickland. Now, the Bucks can either turn face along with Perry and then try to save the company because now Tony Khan has gotten out of control. That's how you build a storyline. You build it just like when there was a WCW takeover, but you do it different. You do it new. And you got to have better video packages promoting and building who it is and what it is. Swerve Strickland has a match right after he won the title, but there was no build toward it. He just had a match like it was a regular match for the AEW title. Swerve Strickland didn't just come on TV and just do a promo. Someone comes in, gets ready to get into it with him and says, okay, bet, I'll see you later tonight, or I see you next week. There's no build to anything that they're giving. Daniel Bryan or Daniel Bryanson, all these dream matches that they keep saying over and over, that don't make them dream matches because I promise you this. You don't care about something that you don't know about. And honestly, that Will Ospreay, I didn't know who he was, honestly. And I see he was in TNA. I see he's like one of the greatest independent guys or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like
well, he was huge in New Japan. That's why they brought him over. Yeah.
But the point is, the casual fans don't know who he is. You got to build up towards something. And that match is something that you save for that Wimbledon that they got coming up later this year. You build it for months. There is no build to anything that they do. Dream matches that you get are not really dream matches if there's no build to it. No one's watching to enjoy it because you didn't build it. Word of mouth didn't spread enough for you to build it and to get eyes on your television show. And I think that that's the biggest problem with AEW. I think that a lot of the things that Bischoff says is true on what he's been saying recently, but he has to also say, like I think what you said, Mike, fess up to the things that you did, the mistakes that I made. I'm trying to give you advice on not to do what I did, not to do what TNA did. Let me help you out and stuff, So We'll see. You know, time will tell in regards to them, man. But there's plenty of things that they could do. The House of Black is awesome. They're gonna lose them if they don't do something with them. The Bang Bang Club is cool. The Guns, I'll be honest with you, I'm not gonna lie. Billy Gunn should take his kids, get them over to NXT, and these guys will be, they're probably Hall of Famers by the time they're done with their run in WWE. Right now, they're just lost in the shuffle. The trios title means nothing. I don't even know why they have it. There's a lot of things that just could be done better in AEW. You give me 2 wrestlers, I'll book a feud that'll be the best feud in the damn company. And I'm sure a lot of other people could say that and stuff. So Bully Ray says it a lot. But honestly, the saving grace could be if Jinder Mahal comes in with a lot of the other people that were released from WWE. And I'll say this. Here's the thing. WWE has built so many great stars, so many names that now they're just letting guys go that you say, why is Jinder gone? That's what happened with WCW, and WCW capitalized on it and started bringing these guys in, and it was exciting. AEW does it right. They could blow up like WCW, but can they sustain it? You know. And last thing, AEW didn't start to get terrible until Cody Rhodes left. AEW was good while Cody Rhodes was there. Cody Rhodes helped build AEW. Now he's gone. So who's that guy? Who's the next man up? It's definitely not the Young Bucks, and it's not Kenny Omega. I'm sorry, it's not.
Yeah,
they're not gonna say
where yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think where they started going downhill business wise was CM Punk was like losing CM Punk, and then like all the chaos, and it started to get super chaotic in that company. You know, I guess the only pushback I would have is like they really did sign a lot of WWE stars. They signed Christian, they signed Edge. Edge is a much bigger star than Jinder Mahal ever was, and
they didn't bring him in right.
The only guy that ever moved numbers for AEW really was CM Punk, and then once they lost him, and you know, I think the two worst things that ever happened to AEW obviously was the mismanagement of CM Punk going rogue and getting into fights, getting himself fired appropriately, and then the other thing was, you know, Vince McMahon leaving WWE and WWE restoring consumer confidence in their product. Because once they did that, they have so many hours of television. I just think that they just took off, went far and away, and now AEW is fighting second place. But I think if AEW ever did bring in Jinder, me personally, I've just never been a fan of his. I just don't think he's a top guy, and I don't think you get any money from India, which we're finding out on YouTube. Like you have to, like you don't really get any ad dollars from India. I think it would be funny to see him in Hook since they had that whole feud on Twitter last week. But
I would just say this is, I think Jinder Mahal is one of the most underrated wrestlers in wrestling. I think that this guy brings a lot to the table, and if you build him right, there's a lot of feuds you can have there that would be great. I think the way that they brought Edge in was horrible. That's why he means absolutely nothing to the ratings right now, because they didn't build it, they didn't promote him right. Edge and Christian just give it away, and then it's like, no, everyone wanted to see them reunited, not have a feud. That's the biggest mistake that they made right there with that and stuff. And then I will say this about CM Punk, and Tech Master hates when I talk about CM Punk. He's a cancer. He was a cancer to AEW. He ruined AEW. Once you bring chaos to the back in the locker room, you just ruin things. You poison things. You make things hard. People are not good. And I think when he left, things shifted and changed, and guys felt a little bit better and more comfortable because he's only out for himself. And look, everything that Drew McIntyre said on TV was half shoot and half work, but mostly shoot, and was absolutely 100% true. And as much as merchandise as he sells, because he can run his mouth, guess what? If I was wrestling still and I was in the ring, I can out-talk him too. And the most embarrassing moment he had and how he was exposed was a couple of weeks ago with Drew McIntyre, I think leading into WrestleMania. every time he tried to say something, Drew McIntyre had a comeback for it. When you have to go to the audience to get the audience to respond, to bring that heat back to you, then you fucked up. And so, as hyped as everyone is about CM Punk, he's a novelty. He's a specialty match. No world title should ever be put on his waist ever again. They should treat him like they treated The Undertaker, where you build up towards a big match and then let it sell out. That's as good as he is. That's how they should have used him in AEW. That's how they should use him in WWE, because, excuse my French, but they almost fucked up when they tried to add him to the WrestleMania world title match, because the first thing I said was, this guy won't make it to WrestleMania without getting injured. And guess what? He got injured. When he comes back, he's all yoked up. He's all looking great and all fantastic and stuff. You got to eat some crow right now, bro. You need some Iron Sheik in your life. You need to be humble for a little while. And then prove that you've changed and become a different person. Then maybe you'll get some props from me at least. And that's all I say. I go on a rant when it comes to CM Punk, because I think he's like Shawn Michaels. He's basically like Shawn Michaels was. He's a great and talented person, but he's a dickhead, and he ruins backstage. And that's the biggest problem you'll ever have in any wrestling company. And he did a lot of damage to AEW, and they're still trying to recover. Look at Jack Perry, man. That says it all. Jack Perry should have never been fired or any of that other kind of stuff, bro. He's a great worker. He's a good talent and everything. He may be cocky, but he's young. He's a kid. He needs to learn. But CM Punk didn't handle things right, and CM Punk got rewarded by coming back to the WWE, bro. That guy needs to eat some crow. He needs some Iron Sheik moments in his life. Humble. Some people know what I'm talking about when I talk about.
Put him in the camel clutch and make him humble, Iron Sheik style. Well, Shadow Man, I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a big moment for me. I also appreciate, because JD and I get accused of being probably AEW super fans at times. So I appreciate your alternative perspective on AEW, because our audience doesn't get to hear stuff like that very often. So I really appreciate that. Everybody go check out the Shadow Knows Network over on YouTube. Check out Tech Master and Alexander Storm and the boys over there. And also you can check out the Shadow's Shoot Shot. He's hasn't coming out all the time. Shadow Man, I really appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure. JD, best to you, brother. And just keep your head up, man. Good memories only. Good memories only, bro. And Mike, thanks a lot, bro. It was good talking to you. Good being a part of these guys' shows, man. Thanks a lot, guys. Yeah. And
thank you.
As Shadow always ends things with, tune in if you got the guts. Thanks, guys.
That's what I wanted to hear, brother. Thank you very much. You have a good night. Wow, the Shadow Man. I love the Shadow Man. I grew up listening to him. Obviously, I the Jinder Mahal stuff. I'm not with, but you know what? Look, not everybody has to like the Young Bucks. Not everybody has to like all these other guys. But yeah, honestly, like a different perspective. And of course, I really loved hearing him talk about the old days and covering WCW. That was pretty cool.
It's good to have people who think differently on the show every now and then. It's nice to hear your views challenged, because it forces you to examine what you think, and forces you to think about if you believe in what you believe in. Like I'm not a fan of silencing voices of opposition. I'm a fan of listening to people who think differently than you, and that was cool.
Yeah. No, that was really cool. And I just wanted to shout out where did his Kevin, thank you. We're getting so many comments tonight. Guys in the comments, feel free to lay down a super chat at any point.
Yeah, $5.
Yeah. But Tech Master's been in. I just didn't want to interrupt Shadow's train of thought, because he was on a roll several times.
On a roll.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have some DMs, people killing me over somebody wanting Jinder Mahal to go to AEW, because they've been killing me about that. Last week I had to eat a lot of stuff because people wanting Jinder Mahal to go to TNA. So
we're gonna eat some shit on this one from what we normally do. So should be fun.
Yeah, but no, I thought it was. I don't look. If somebody wants to come on here and say they're fans of Jinder Mahal, I love it, especially like a guy that has been in the business for as long as he has. The Shadow Man, you like Jinder Mahal? Come on, Shadow. Plus, I grew up listening to Shadow, so he can like whoever he wants.
Well, it's funny to me because like he started out, we got a lot of hardcore TNA fans listening to our show because of you, because of your Brace for Impact work. Not mine anymore. I've been out of that. And I was like, oh, hey, thanks, Tech Master.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Tech Master. Thank you very much.
So I heard that. I'm like, oh, this is going to make hardcore fans real happy to start with.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Man, that look, thank you, JD. Thank you, everybody. That was awesome. That meant a lot to me to have the Shadoweman on.
I know.
I grew up listening to the guy. So just
It's
hearing
awesome.
his voice, that was like rekindling a part of my childhood. So let's go ahead and let's get into the Vince McMahon stuff, because we only have a little bit of time left, and I really want to devote some time to it. So this is from John Pollock, as you guys can read. It's a statement from Edward Brennan, legal representative for John Laurinaitis, in the suit filed by Janelle Grant. It says, to whom it may concern, John Laurinaitis has filed a motion today fully joining in and adopting Vince McMahon's motion to compel arbitration. Mr. Laurinaitis corroborates Mr. McMahon in publicly declaring that Ms. Grant's allegations of sexual abuse and coercion in her complaint are completely unfounded. My client will fight these false allegations together with Mr. McMahon in the proper forum, arbitration. Part of the title of this show is Johnny Ace Flips. It wasn't that long ago that we actually talked about it on here, that Johnny Ace was actually, looks like he was going to be against Vince McMahon, and said that he was also being coerced, and that Vince McMahon was using his coercive power over him to make him do certain deeds, dirty deeds in the bedroom. And it looks like he has completely flipped. JD, what say you?
What a fucking rat. Like, it's just like, what changed, man? What changed?
Yeah.
Just a few weeks ago, you talked about how you were being sexually coerced and doing these things you don't want to do, but now it's a lie. Now that's a crazy bitch. I did nothing of the sort. Like,
yeah,
Johnny Ace is a cockroach, right? He's just tried going to survive. You know, he did the same thing he was doing in All Japan, trying to get him Matako Bawa's good side. Like, he's a scumbag, but we know Johnny Ace is a scumbag. So, I mean, like, what does it mean? Like, I think he probably figured out that he might be liable for, some further problems down the road. So we'll flip the story. I think it's a bad look for him, but scumbags going to be scumbags. What are you going to do? Hey, thanks, Alexander Storm, another super chat. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Alexander Storm. He works with the Shadow. So thank you, Alex. So we're gonna try to set you up over onto their network so you can plug the book coming up, and they're excited to have you on.
Oh,
so,
can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I really think that we'll get along with their website. Yeah, I think it could be a number of things. I think most importantly, he probably got paid off.
Oh yeah,
allegedly, maybe. I think it's highly probable that chances are, got paid off. I'm trying to speak in a way that I won't get held liable. Allegedly,
one could assume that a guy who just sold $1 billion worth of stock has some disposable funds.
Yeah, I don't know. This is one of those moments where I wish that BJ was here so he can explain to our two dumbasses, can they subpoena the bank records to see the time difference between when the money hits that account and when the backflip happened, whenever he did the complete 180. I get the feeling they were right at one right after the other.
Here, Johnny Ace is a fictional character. John Laurinaitis is a real person. So I'm going to talk about a fictional character right now, right?
Yeah.
Fictional character could, the Mr. McMahon, also a fictional character. Mr. McMahon could tell Johnny Ace, hey, I'll pay you later after the trial, so as not to cause problems. Could happen in a fictional world, not in reality.
So kind of like that guy in Popeye where he's like, I will pay you Tuesday.
Wimpy for the hamburger today. Mike, that is why you come to Mike JD show for 100-year-old jokes like Popeye.
Where else are you going to hear Popeye references than fucking Mike and JD show?
I don't know what's worse, the fact that you made a 100-year-old joke or the fact that I immediately got it as soon as you referenced it.
Yeah, most people would look at me like I'm the biggest idiot in the world. You did both. You laughed and looked at me like that. So that was good.
That's why. That's our friendship right there. It's based on stupidity. So I appreciate that. He's a scumbag, man. I mean, there's nothing good from this. And it's like last week, like BJ talked about last week, in Vince's effort to try to, arbitrate and settle, he completely buries the plaintiff, He's just Vince got a Vince, and everybody. And this is the problem for wrestling: people still kowtow to Vince McMahon, right? These people still bow down before him. Like, what are you gonna do, man? Rotten people are gonna be rotten people, and nor should they ever disappoint you when they reveal to you how rotten they are.
Yeah. Well, and I think we talked about it. I'll have to go back and listen to our clip that we made for it when that news came out a couple months ago, where Johnny was basically had turned on Vince,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, I think we discussed it. Like, is he just trying to get a payout? And just a couple months later, here we are. He is completely flipped, and now he is going to be joining in on the Vince McMahon side, and probably has $50 million or whatever.
It's like a bad Russo storyline, man. He's like flipping left and right and no character development. It's just happening for no reason. Like, yeah, it's fucking dumb, man. I don't know. It's so disappointing. I'll say this though. Her narrator, her lawyer is a pit bull. So I ain't gonna let this go.
Yeah. Janelle Grant is a very impressive person. The more I look into her and I see her she does the Ashley Banfield show on News Nation. Like, it's like it's like cable news.
Talking about Ann Callis, the lawyer, right?
Ann Callis. Yeah. What did I say?
You said Janelle Grant.
Janelle Grant's the lawyer. No.
Yeah. Okay.
No. Yes. Sorry. Ann Callis, the lawyer.
Yeah.
Very impressive, and BJ has done a ton of research on her, and he's come on the show several times, and it's like, no, like, she is a monster. Like, she is not going to let this go. Now, look, at the end of the day, we all know that this is probably going to end up, being settled. That's how this stuff goes. I hope to God it does not. I want to be optimistic about it, but I wasn't even that optimistic last week, and I'm even less optimistic now that they got Johnny Ace to flip, and I get the feeling that this is going to somehow end up with just a massive payoff, get swept under the rug, and then Vince McMahon is going to end up trying to weasel his way back into the wrestling business some way, somehow. And who knows when that would happen, but I think it's inevitable.
I agree. It's not like Nick Khan wouldn't let it happen. Like, they're trying hard to distance themselves now. But Ronda Rousey said, as long as Bruce Pritchard's around, Vince is around, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like, is he really out? I mean, Stephanie's there too. And like, well, I mean, like, and Legento doing to make sure everyone's, they aren't talking right now. Stephanie and Hunter, they don't talk to Vince. Oh, okay, sure. Okay. I believe that.
Yeah. Hold on, King of the North here. He had to leave when he heard. Are we done with Jinder Mahal fantasy booking? Hey, yes. King, I think that's a great idea because you've been harassing me for a week and a half now about how Jinder's coming to TNA, and finally we get somebody on this show who's been in the wrestling business, and he wants Jinder to go to AEW. And you know what? So eat that.
I never heard that before. That was wild to me that I'm like, he's serious about this. Yeah. Like, I never in a million years would have thought of that. It's great. I said, it's great to have someone who has a completely different view than what you would have, just to hear dissenting opinions. We don't talk. There aren't enough people willing to discuss dissenting opinions. Like, the echo chamber of social media is so dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Because then you just think that, like, whatever preconceived notion you have, I don't know, let's say aliens, for example, are real,
Yeah.
So it's good to have people say, no, Mike, there are no such thing as aliens. So
I can tell this story just slightly, but I'm gonna go see somebody tomorrow. That's pretty important. And when my chief broke the news to me, he was like, hey, just don't talk about aliens. I was like, okay, yes, chief, I won't talk about aliens, because I'm like, wow, do I have a reputation? John Muse sends me like 3 alien stories a day now.
I know. When you texted me that, I screenshotted it and I sent it to my wife, and I said, "This is Mike."
It's like clearly, humble brag. Clearly a high performer, I would say. Someone that people like, that they think a lot of, and they also find is completely crazy. Yeah, and once you guys hear the actual story next week, so I'm gonna give a little cliffhanger about who I get to go meet tomorrow. But I'm super honored by this, by the way. But it's gonna be an awesome moment. But I'll tell everybody the story next week.
As you should. I was telling my brother, I think my favorite episode that we've ever done, by far, it was our JFK episode.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that could just be a whole new show that we do, where we just like go back and forth on. I got to be honest with you, man, listening to Shadow talk about his network kind of was inspiring about, I know you've been saying this for a long time, but Johnny's 600 hobbies, has a hard time focusing on what he's doing tomorrow. But I mean, it was
Yeah.
really kind of cool listening to all the stuff they do and all the various
Yeah.
things. I don't know, man. It was super interesting.
Well, that's kind of what we envisioned for our network. We
We
just,
did.
yeah, I just
Don't
think
do it
we have
enough.
too many. I think we have too many jobs, but I'm still gonna try to get JD to do like a more solo stuff, talking about all the fascinating things that you're into, with all the horror stuff and comic books and all that stuff that that you're like kind of an expert in. And hopefully we'll get that coming out here pretty soon.
Oh, our buddy Daza wants my John Carpenter. I thought I gave it. I thought I kind of did the spiel at the beginning of the They Live episode, which, by the way, if you have not heard our They Live Patreon episode, it
Yeah.
rules. We did a live.
Yes.
We have a lot of new people listening, so I'm gonna just based on the chat, I could tell. So like,
Oh, yeah.
Mike and I did a Patreon watch along with They Live, and I started it by just kind of talking about how John Carpenter kind of got into the headspace to make They Live. And Dazzle apparently wants more of my thoughts on John Carpenter, so I have to crack the old knuckles, sit down, and just do it.
Well, I think we need like a countdown or something like that.
I know,
Talking
you just gotta
the great John Carpenter
you
movies.
just gotta tell me, like, just say, hey JD, get your fucking ass in gear. Like, finals, grad school finals, easier. So
Sweet. All right, we're already over the hour mark. There's one topic in the chat that I will get to before I leave, I promise, but I want to get to this topic first. Tony Khan was on the NFL Network. This came out after we recorded last week, so I think he was on like Friday, like day 2 of the draft, and he's wearing the neck brace, and I love that he's wearing the neck brace. He's doing the Andy Kaufman thing.
I love it.
And he's talking about his AEW, and then all of a sudden he drops the line, "We're like the Pepsi of pro wrestling, and WWE is like the Harvey Weinstein of professional wrestling." And Mike Garofolo, and I think it was it might have been Tom Pelissero, like the 2 hosts on NFL Network, their jaws just dropped. It was like, whoa, wait a minute, Tony. And boy, did he get some crap for that. I thought it was hilarious. I like chaos. Clearly it did not affect the ratings this week. I don't think it was ever going to do that anyway. But what did you think of him going on there and dropping that line?
Well, I mean, like, isn't that what they're being sued for?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's
yeah. Shoot,
I'm sorry. Vince is WWE, whether we want to admit it or not. And people, I've said it for weeks on the show, the people there, he was showing text messages about that. Like, he was bragging about defecating on a woman. Like, find me. I mean, I know people get all butthurt and up in their feelings because they loved it as a company. Like, Devon's going to share another tweet, another meme with a child watching wrestling and be like, remember back before dirt sheets? Yeah, when you were 3. Like, I know that's what we do, but I mean, that's reality. That's what happened. It's not terribly different than what Harvey Weinstein talked about. So if it bothers you that much, examine your love and, make peace with it. Man, I love From Dusk Till Dawn. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But Miramax was owned by Harvey Weinstein. So, live with it.
Dude. So you and I are pretty big Robert Rodriguez fans.
Oh yeah, huge. Yeah.
And I was excited to show my kid Spy Kids.
I did that a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Same. It was actually this past Saturday. And I was excited because it's Robert Rodriguez. I'm like, well, I can't show you Desperado, and I can't show you From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I can't show you all the other awesome movies. But you know what we can share a love in? Spy Kids.
Great
right?
movie.
Which came out after I was already an adult and before I had kids. It came out like almost 20 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
So it, like me and her were watching it for the first time because I had never seen it, but I've like, it's Robert Rodriguez. So I'm like, yeah, I get to watch Robert Rodriguez. And then it comes up, executive producer Harvey Weinstein is like, damn it. It kind of like made my skin crawl a little bit. And then we proceeded to watch the movie because it's still Robert Rodriguez. It's still a good movie. Right. And so that's why I'm like, look, it's a creepy thing. Like I still love Jay and Silent Bob. Harvey Weinstein produced, Clerks and, Mallrats and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. You know what I mean? It's just, it's something you just got to come to grips with, right? You can still love the movies, but you just hate the guy that produced it.
Here's the thing is like, there's bad people in all facets, all walks of life. And it's on you to draw the line of what you're comfortable with and what you're not. And there's things that you can call me out as a hypocrite. I will watch a Miramax movie. I showed Andy Spy Kids too, because he just loves spies. Like his dream is to be in the CIA. My 8-year-old wants to be in the CIA. I don't know what to think about that. But I mean, so we watch Spy Kids, right? Harvey Weinstein. Like there's things that I'm not comfortable with, and there's things that I am. Like WWE for me is a tough one. And isn't the company so much as it is the people that are willing to turn a blind eye to it. Nobody was willing to turn a blind eye to Harvey Weinstein. Like, he got excommunicated in prison and will die. And Hollywood, stabbed him and like treated him like Caesar on the steps of the Senate, right? They all stabbed him and let him die. That didn't happen in professional wrestling, right? Way too many people came to Vince McMahon's defense, right? And there's, Jimmy Van. I'll keep saying this every week. Jimmy Van, like, thank you, Vince. I will never let that go. I will never let that go, because that guy knows the story, but he chooses to do that. He chooses to cheerlead them. And for me, that is why I have a hard time drawing the line. Hollywood ran to Ronan Farrow's article and was like, yep, bad person. We've all known it. We let it go. It was terrible. Would they have done it if he didn't let the cat out of the bag? Probably not, but they did. They turned when the news came out. When the news came out about Vince, not enough rats scurried off that boat for me. And it makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. So for me, that's the line in the sand. For you, for anyone else, you have to figure out where you're uncomfortable with something.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, so it's not like this story is new. Like, these stuff's been out there about Vince. Like, it's been reported on forever. You had the stuff from the 80s, the Ring Boy scandal. You had oh gosh, I can't remember the referee. I can't remember her name. I'm sorry.
Rita Chatterton.
Rita Chatterton, the payoff of Jimmy Snuka killing his girlfriend. You had all those things. And then, the NDAs come out, and we kind of like all know that it's bad, but here he comes out being hailed as a hero.
That's
on his own TV by his family, and then by his fans, like literally the day the story comes out. And it wasn't until this latest story came out that he really was like excommunicated. So it's like we had to wait until why did I have to get this far? You know what I mean? Like, we had to get this far into this graphic detail and basically ruin this woman's life. You know what I mean? It's disgusting.
And that's what bugs me, is he's not excommunicated. We're pretending like he is, but I mean, like, he's not. Like I said, Brother Love is still there doing his bidding. It's just, and again, what bugs me the most it's the fan base, right? And that's, I can't understand how you just are cool with it. There's not a lot of sin. And okay, to be fair, there are people who defend Woody Allen, right? That's gross. Yes. That's disgusting. I have a hard time with that, right? There are people who defended Roman Polanski. Rosemary's Baby, one of the greatest horror movies ever made. Chinatown, brilliant movie. Dude, if you guys don't know, his wife, Sharon Tate, murdered by the Manson family. He is fucked up. That fucked him up for life. I get it. You still don't give a 13-year-old Quaaludes and sodomize her. You don't do that. And you don't skip town and go move to France and have Hollywood, forgive you because of that.
Still making movies, right? He was still making movies up until recently, right?
Yes. Yeah, he won an Oscar and he couldn't come accept, or he was up for I couldn't remember if he won or if he was up for an Oscar before. And like, people were like, oh, we should really move past that. It's like, sodomized a freaking child.
Yeah.
He drugged and sodomized a child. Like, oh, but she looked old. I mean, do you hear the words that come out of your mouth? Like, again, your mileage may vary. I love Rosemary's Baby. I haven't watched it in decades because of that, because I learned what kind of a guy Roman Polanski was. Bothers me, right? Your mileage may vary. You got to figure that out for your own.
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on. We got a question from Techmaster.
Oh,
I said people think that Triple H will be gone a year from now because he's the son-in-law of Vince. What do you guys think? I think he's there for until he's gone.
As long as he wants to be.
Yeah. I think, and right now, look, we can say whatever we want about him.
Working.
The trio of him and Nick Khan and Lee Fitting, that trio right now is, the most powerful trio in all of pro wrestling, and they're on a run of success. The only way he gets removed is if that success stops. And really, you have to be just a total, complete, and utter moron. And even if Triple H's booking goes south, which that can happen because bookers get burnt out. You know what I mean? The fact of the matter is that Nick Khan's not getting burnt out on making deals, right, and sponsorships and stuff like that. And Lee Fitting knows how to produce television, and he knows how to shoot it, and it looks much better than it has looked in 20 years. To be honest with you,
it does.
And so that trio right there, and I think I think they're taking a big part of the AEW audience because they're giving their audience more of what they've been wanting for a long time, what they feel like they've been missing. So a lot of those people that had abandoned ship have now started to come back, right? And it's not just look, they started before Vince even left. So really it's the catalyst of people going back. It's like, Vince is like plays a small part in it, like him leaving. But I think really it's just because they think that the TV is better. And that's all people ever really cared about. They don't really care about all the stuff going on. They don't really care about the evil stuff. Look, right now, there's not a single Browns fan that quit being a Browns fan when they signed Deshaun Watson. It just didn't happen. They could sign O.J. Simpson if he were still alive and put him at running back, and they would still be a fan. Like the Buffalo Bills could just put him in the backfield after. Like that's just the way to we just have toxic fandom and stuff. And like what JD and I try to bring to the table, we love AEW, right? I happen to still have a soft spot in my heart for TNA, although they're booking Alley Catch this weekend, so I did quit the show. I'll be back by Saturday because you guys are paying for it, but I did quit today. I quit. I'll be back by Saturday though. So but like I also we're grown adults and we can call people out on their bullshit no matter what the company is, and so we just tell like it is, right? And where did I get a part of that? Shadoweman. Like listening to Shadoweman when I was a kid, listening to Stern when I was a kid. So Ethan Page, he has been removed from the AEW Ring of Honor roster. Longtime guy in Impact. He was a former tag team champion with Josh Alexander for like a year. The North, yeah. He went over to AEW and he never really made it. He had some start and stop pushes and kind of plateaued. I think a lot of people had higher hopes for him, but that place is just so stacked with stars that and guys that are just much better than him, and he just never really could crack like that upper echelon of talents, man. What do you think about Ethan Page?
I think Edge had a great debut. I don't understand that. One of my favorite moments of the last year. I thought it was fantastic. I don't know, man. I was hoping for Ethan Page because I like Ethan Page. I just think he has a hard time being a serious guy. Yeah. Right. I think as an audience, it's hard to, it's not like he's a clown all the time, but it's hard to see him as like something. And it's weird to say that because like I saw the Evolve feud with Darby Allin. Like I know I know what that guy is capable of. Yet I never felt it when he was in AEW, and I was on board. I said, man, this is a great signing. I think this guy could be something if we tap back into that guy. And it just didn't happen. And like I said, if you're in that company, you have to stand out. And his work is good, right? His promos are good, but like it just didn't happen.
You got to be better than good. Yeah, you got to be better than good if you're going to make it in WWE and if you're going to make it in AEW, and you have to have something that clicks with their respective audience, because I do believe that they have two different audiences really. They're serving two different people, and that's why when people tell me that AEW should tell more WWE like stories, like no, they should be different than WWE, and WWE should be different than AEW. They should be competing for their different audiences, their own brands, right? They should have their own identities. Ethan Page just couldn't crack it, and he's got what I think some people call it. I think he found this out recently. And Deonna Purrazzo's finding this out. He's got small room charisma, right? Some people just have larger than life, big room charisma. You put him on an Evolve show with Swerve and they're probably equals, but you put Swerve in a big arena, right? And you put Ethan Page in a big arena, Swerve just jumps off the page. The guy's a superstar. We can say whatever we want about, his title reign so far. It's been a week. Let's give him some time. But like he just kind of jumps off the page. The guy is a superstar, right? Ethan Page, just some people got it to be big stars. And I just don't think that he had what it took to become a big star. He just wasn't larger than life. He didn't have that big room charisma. He doesn't really speak to the top of the audience, right? The top of the rafters. And so where could he end up next? I think it's pretty obvious that I think TNA would be a good destination. I think there's a ready-made feud there with Josh Alexander. I think that they would have a good feud. They would have good matches, and he would cut good promos. And they're going to Canada for Slammiversary. I think that would be good. The problem is he kind of burned some bridges on his way out. He did. And, look, his last night in TNA, or Impact Wrestling back then, but TNA, it was the worst thing I've ever seen, where they did Ethan Page versus Karate Man, like a pandemic, empty arena, skit. They were trying to do the Broken Hardy stuff, but he essentially wrestled himself ripped his own heart out and died. Right. It was one of the worst things I've ever seen. But you know what? They got new management now, and he bashed them on the way out. Went over to AEW thinking that he would never have to come back. Antonio,
It's
sir,
been 10 days.
Yeah, it's been 10 days. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Antonio Baker says Swerve title run has been booked bad. I did not like the way he was just kind of trotted out without any fanfare on the first Collision, on the first Dynamite, but I felt like they did give him a good spotlight on Collision, coming right off a hot basketball game with a big audience. I felt like they did maximize that. But would I have him, wrestling on, like nothing matches? No, I wouldn't, but I don't.
He wrestled Claudio. Like I'm
talking about
match.
Kyle Fletcher is what I was saying, and I like Kyle Fletcher, right? But like, let's be honest, like it was kind of a glorified
squash.
No, I don't want to say squash, but yeah, I mean that's what it was.
But what is the AEW? When this is like we talk about the difference between the two audiences. What does the AEW audience want? Like you could tell me like we got to get more casuals in, but we saw that with the MJF rate is you lost a lot of your hardcore fans because you weren't. Thank you, King of the North. It's a wrestling show.
It's a wrestling
show.
Yeah.
You can't book AEW the way WWE is booked. We saw that in the Max reign, and it didn't work. It divided the fan base. Like, and they're still trying to recover off of that. Right?
Yeah, I'm not saying he shouldn't have wrestled. I'm saying it just made it to be a bigger deal. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. But it's a nitpick.
But that's the thing. It's been 10 days and they just put him into his first real program. I mean, you can question Christian Cage, but I mean, like Christian Cage is going to make the guy look great and they're going to have good promos and you're going to build something. Should it be main eventing a pay-per-view? I don't know. Let's see. I'm not sold on that idea yet, but I know it's going to make for decent TV. Like the AEW audience doesn't want people sitting around cutting promos for 4 hours. They don't. They want to watch wrestling. And if you don't give them wrestling, why are they watching AEW? Why would you do what WWE does when the WWE is doing it well? Right? We've talked about this 100 times on our show. Like people drink Coke, people drink Pepsi. If I want a Pepsi, I'll drink a Coke if it's there, but I want a Pepsi. Right? If I want to go to McDonald's and Burger King, I'd rather you're going to pick one or the other if the two are across the street, and you're probably going to pick that one consistently because that's what you like. And it's okay. And it's okay to serve a different audience. I don't think AEW is going out of business by the end of the year.
No.
A billionaire.
Yeah. No, that AEW is going to be around as long as Tony Khan either A, gets that deal signed with Warner Brothers, which I feel like he's going to, or B, he can just continue to fund it because the guy's just he's stupid rich. Right? So like he can just, like he said, fuck it, I'll go to YouTube if he wants. Right? like he could. And he could hire somebody to maximize his YouTube, sell subscriptions. He could do all that stuff. Will it be the same as what it is right now? Probably not. But he like AEW is not going anywhere. Will it still be on Warner Brothers Discovery? Well, I think they got a better shot now that now that it looks like NBA is going to go to Comcast and Amazon. They got to have programming and they're about to get knocked out of that. Look, TNT and TBS are like number 1 and number 2 all the time. And it's because NBA, NHL, and then kind of like behind them, a couple tiers down is AEW. If they lose NBA, I don't think they're going to lose AEW, and I think they'll pay a premium price to keep it.
Yeah, they're going to need something to keep it on. Dave brought up a good point that it brings down the prestige of the network if they lose the NBA.
Yes.
I had heard earlier they were talking about splitting the NBA rights, like they would just get less on both. We'll see what Comcast wants to do. Comcast throws around a whole.
Yeah, they do. And I think the future of AEW is on, obviously they're going to stay on cable, but I think they're going to have to co-stream on a app here soon.
That's going to happen.
They got to make the deal with Max as well as Warner Brothers. And I think that's like the long play because eventually cable's going to go away before our eyes, dwindling every single year.
Look at the ratings.
Big part of the reason why. A big part of the reasons why, like right now during the playoffs, the AEW is down this year versus last year is because they're in less homes in this year versus last year. But WWE is kind of confusing the marketplace because they're just fucking so hot and they're outperforming everything. It's wild how hot they are.
But look at their core numbers compared to 4 or 5 years ago, right? They're down
Yes.
in total numbers,
Yeah.
but they're up from where they were because things have gotten kind of rough for them, especially during the pandemic. Like,
Yeah.
let's be honest, man. Like, there's less homes in cable, and it drifts down every year. How are you supposed to grow numbers with when you have less homes? It's just math, man. Tackmaster says ratings are no longer going to be the ones that switches over to streaming service. Yeah, that's true. And WWE has already built that in with Netflix. They could do whatever they want, and with because we don't know. There is no aggregated service that reports true Netflix ratings. Like streaming numbers, they don't have to release those things. They just say, yeah, we had the Netflix especially does this. We had 8 billion people watch the most recent episode of Stranger Things, and then they print it and they go, yes, 8 billion people watch Stranger Things. More people than on Earth are watching Stranger Things. They're actually webcasting it to Alpha Centauri. Like it's insane, but they could do that because of streaming. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
The Anunnaki, yeah.
Like that's the thing, man. Like it's like you don't have to. Like the world of ratings is fading fast, right?
Yeah.
Like just look at numbers year over year, man. Just look at it and then factor in the loss of homes year over year. It's plummeting. We got rid of cable 10 years ago, right? And I know people follow us up. They can follow them up. It's just reality.
Yeah, I have my cousin's cable password for YouTube TV, so that's why I have it right now. So that's been sorry, YouTube. I didn't mean to admit to that, but
don't bite the hand that feeds. I've used a friend's cable password for years so I can watch Dynamite on the TBS app, which is the worst app in the world, by the way.
Dude, I gave up on it. I had my friends, dude. I had my friends' moms for a while, and I had the TBS and TNT app, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna find like an illegal feed because that's actually much easier to use, and it was. So I did that for a little while, but now I just have my cousin's YouTube TV, and I can just put it on my DVR and watch it that way.
That's probably
or on his DVR anyway.
It's the worst. I hate it so much.
Yeah, but hey, everybody in the chat, I want to give some shout outs here.
Lots.
Lots of shout outs, and thank you. Like obviously Shadow and Techmaster and Alexander Storm brought the thunder today. They brought us some new viewers, so really appreciate it. Make sure you click that like button and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel, and also make sure you're a subscriber to Shadow Knows Network. Antonio Baker doesn't have cable anymore. Thanks Antonio for being in the chat tonight. Bang bang 49er gang. Also Scope Wrestling in the house. Hoorah Marine. Welcome Uncle Scope. And then King of the North in here consistently every week harassing me. Says if WWE is Coke and AEW is Pepsi, what is TNA? Mr. Pibb.
I was gonna say RC Cola.
RC Cola. I think I think so. And I think everybody needs to be okay with that, right? Like I think like everybody needs to just like figure out like come to grips with reality about what TNA exactly is and why I'm completely okay with Matt Hardy being in TNA because it's TNA. Look at their level that they're at. Their pay-per-view that they just had, they had 1,100 people in the building. Like Matt Hardy's the type of scar that they can get. So like just be like, hey, cool, Matt Hardy's still working. Like it seems like he's a nice guy, right? So he doesn't seem like he's one of those creeps. You know what I mean? No. So Matt Hardy let the brother get paid and have fun. You know what I mean?
So MLW would be like the great value, the stuff you buy at Walmart, right? That would be MLW.
Sam's Choice Cola.
Sam's Choice.
Yeah.
Game changer would be what? Like urine?
Meth. Yeah. The Game Changer is like the meth that you know, like
on the soda scale.
Yeah. And NWA would be like, you know, Docolax like drink to make you poop.
Moxie. That's what that would be. It would be Moxie.
Yeah. All right. I want to do a couple more shout outs. I'm going through the comments here. I didn't get to everybody. Kevin S. I wonder if Tessa Blanchard will go back today. Look, that was a rumor. I think that was a rumor a couple weeks ago, but I think she's pretty happy in CMLL. All the AEW fans love CMLL, but when they heard that Tessa might be going back to TNA, they were bashing TNA. I was like, hey, have you watched CMLL? You've been preaching CMLL for a little bit because that's AEW's partner. She's got a bigger shot at going to AEW than she does TNA at this point.
You and I both know those AEW fans have no idea what's going on in CMLL.
Yeah. And IO Productions in the house tonight. Thank you. You talking about Ethan Page was just praising Ring of Honor not too long ago. Well, yeah, they're paying him money. Of course,
trying to keep his job.
trying to keep his job, and I think he is out the door now. So, but hey guys, tonight was one of my favorite episodes. It was so fun to have the Shadoweman on. Just after JD and I just celebrated 1 year with the new format. It was almost like we're episode 54, so just over a year ago we switched over from Brace for Impact to the Mike and JD show, and this thing just keeps building and building and building. We're on the Voices of Wrestling network now, and we got this awesome audience. Thanks for everybody's support. Make sure you go to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. I'll be out with 2 Brace for Impacts this weekend. Even though I did quit the show, I'm already back because tomorrow night they have Under Siege. They had Under Siege tomorrow. Like, the card does not look great, but Jonathan Gresham and Kushida just got announced, so I'll like that one. And Jake Something versus Hammerstone is gonna be fun.
That'll be fun.
Like, I'm just trying to look on the bright side, but the rest of the matches don't look great. But so I got that to look forward to. So I'll be recapping tonight's episode, which the main event was Jordan Grace versus Miyu Yamashita. So that was, I'm getting good, hearing that was pretty good. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet, so I'll watch that later tonight, and I'll watch Under Siege over the weekend, and I'll come out with 2 different Brace for Impact. So that'll be in your Patreon feed. And then JD and I hopefully this weekend maybe try to catch up, do some overtime. It's been a while.
Ooh, yeah.
I can coordinate with the wife, and maybe we'll try to schedule an overtime. Have a topic, maybe do a watch along or something. Yeah, we'll come up with something. Okay. We'll give you guys some more content. It's been a little bit, but that is gonna do it for us this week. Thank you so much for being here, and until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. Make no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I